What's up? This is Clyde. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna cook a darker, like Atlanta type trap beat. Artist I've been listening to a bunch recently is Lil Tony or Lil Tony Official. George Pickens put me onto that shit, but nah, he's hard as hell. So cooked up a beat for him, and I'm gonna go ahead and break it down today. Dope. So the first thing I did is I went into a Palace Omnisphere bank. I grabbed this pad called Clouds, and I went ahead and laid a pretty basic chord progression here. So you see I'm in D sharp minor at 151 BPM. Just added a basic triad chord, right? And after that, I did a 1-3 progression. So I came here to the F sharp and made just another triad chord. Then what we did is we just went ahead and copied that over. And over here for the last chord of the 4 bars, I actually made an inverted 4th chord, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 to the G sharp, add the second of the triad, added the D, and just brought it down 1 octave. So we have a nice 1, 3, 1, 4 progression here. Gives us a nice dark feel. After that, I went ahead, added in a couple top notes, right? So I just went up an octave to D sharp 5. Added one in where I knew I was going to have an 808 hit. And then I added just another F sharp here. Just gives it a nice little bit of bounce with this pad that we have. Gives it a good high note. Then we went ahead. We copied that over. But this time I brought the F sharp over to the 3.4. Again, where I'm going to have an 808 hit. Then where I inverted the D sharp down in this 4 chord here, I just added another note up top. Again, it sounds nice with some high end with the pad. And then just for a little transition into the 5th bar, I added a G sharp minor here, which you can see is the root note of our 4 chord. So that was a nice simple progression. That gave us this. So it's a nice little dark pad, right? It's got a bit of movement. It sounds pretty good. All I did there is EQ'd out the low end. So then the next thing I did is I went ahead and I copied that pattern over into Electra X. I went into this Ocean View Believe XP bank and I grabbed this ARP called Glory to God. Again, copied over the same pattern. That sounded like this. Now, all I did there is I added halftime on at 4 bars. I EQ'd out the low end. And then I just did a little bit of panning, dragged the mix down, made it every 4 bars so this sound just kind of moves left to right. And again, just adds a little bit of that movement into the melody. Cool. Then the next thing I did is I literally just copied that pattern into FL keys, left it on default, and just added a little bit of reverb to that. You can see my settings here. It's made sure to low cut some of it and crank the wet knob and the decay up. And that sounds like this. So it just sounds nice sitting underneath the rest of the melodies, right? And just gives us a little bit more texture there. Now for my last sound in the melody, I went into another Ocean View bank, Clockwork Purple, and grabbed this lead called Doobie Scoob. And all I did is I laid out a really simple pattern. So you can see I basically took the exact same notes from the top line of what I had in the other melodic elements and just copied that over, played with the velocities a little bit to get it how I wanted to sound. And I actually did nothing there. The sound was really clean. All I did was make it a little bit more stereo and turn it down. Now that one sounded like this. Now altogether, the melody with all 4 of those elements playing at the same time sounds like this. Cool, so I was happy with that. Next thing I did is I grabbed this Onyx 808, whatever, and came in and I just, excuse me, followed the root notes of the pattern, right? So I had a D sharp here. If you remember, I had that D sharp note higher up in the pad. We put an 808 there, and then just another one here on the 2.2. I went ahead and copied that over. I added another cut for that nice like 1, 2, 3 Detroit type of bounce, and I, instead of having the F sharp, I just brought it back to a D sharp. And then again, if you remember in the melody right before the 5th bar, we went to a G sharp. All I did is copy that exact same thing in the 808 here. Now, pretty similar on the back half of this. I actually did the 1, 2, 3 kind of bounce right here at the start of the 5th bar. Left everything in D sharp, and then at the very end, I wanted some variation, right? So I copied it over, and I just brought these 2 notes up. So I had the F sharp and the G sharp. And then for the clap, pretty basic clap, just brought in a normal clap, right? Had the velocities pretty high. The only thing I did is I added an additional clap, turned down the velocity a little bit, and have that hitting right before that second 808 hits, right? So let's go ahead and play those together so you can hear what I'm talking about. Cool, so after that, I went and grabbed a hi-hat, just a basic little trap hat here. And all I did is brought in a nice 2-step pattern, and on the 1, I made a little triplet roll. Just sounds nice when we hit in on the 1. And then I added this little triplet bounce here towards the end of the 1st bar. Left the 2nd bar alone, and then just copied that pattern over the whole way through this. Now with the melodies and with the 808s and claps, that sounds like this. So after that, we had some nice bounce going. Next thing I did is I grabbed this snare, turned the volume way down because I didn't want it to be very present in what we're hearing, but it adds a bit of bounce. What I did is before the clap in the 2nd bar here, right before it, I just added 2 notes so it stutters a bit. And then after the clap where we have an 808 hitting, I added another snare. Now we copied that same exact pattern over to the back half. This time we just shifted a bit back, right? So instead of really having this hit before the clap when we had it, here, we just shifted it over. So after the clap, we get the 2 quick snares, and then we have 1 more before that 808 comes in on the 5th bar. So went ahead and copied that whole thing over. Next thing we did is we went and we grabbed that classic Detroit perk that you hear a whole lot. And I just wanted to use it to add a little bit more bounce. That perk sounds like this. You've probably heard it a lot in a lot of Detroit beats. So I have that hitting here, just on the 1.4 and note 2 before it. Just kind of gives us that double hit bounce. And then over here on the 3rd bar, we have the clap hits on the 3.3. And then immediately after, we have that perk. And then another perk right before the 4th bar starts. You'll see that bounce happen a lot with snares. It's usually just right here instead, but I just went ahead and shifted that over and then copied those sounds over. So altogether, that was sounding like this. Cool, so I like that a lot. The last thing I did is I went ahead and grabbed this open hat. It's a nice, soft, chill open hat. Added it on the 1, added it on the 5, and then where we have that 1, 2, 3 Detroit kind of bounce, we just put a hat on each one of them here in the 3rd bar, copied that pattern the whole way over. So altogether, the drums with all of the melodic elements sound like this. So after I had all of that going right, it was time to lay out the beat. Like I said, I was kind of picturing this for someone like Lil Tony down in Atlanta. You'll hear in a lot of their songs, right, it is just drums like the whole way through. A lot of the times drums will even start on bar 1 and just go the whole way through this, and they'll kind of pull in and out some of the elements like snares, open hats, perks, hi-hats, things like that. So I wanted to structure it the same. So I brought in just the top 3 melodies to start for 8 bars. Then we drop into the full drums for 16 bars. And then where we have our lead come in here from Electra X, I just chopped out 1 bar just to kind of create this little bounce drop. right? So that sounds really nice. After 16 bars with that lead in there, I wanted to just slow it down a little bit, transition. So we cut out the first Electra X and the lead. So we just had the FL keys in the original Omnisphere melody. Now, because I really wanted to stand out, I also got rid of the open hats and we got rid of the snares here. So you'll hear it transition nicely. So we left that for 8 bars and then copied it over. The next 8, I just brought back the first Electra X, kind of glitchy sounds in the background. Again, just to keep things moving. After those 8 bars, we brought in the snare and the open hat back, just to prepare the listener kind of for that lead to come back in. Now, all we did here to kind of transition into it is just cut back the hi-hats 1 bar. So that sounded like this. Cool, then after that, all I did was go ahead and grab this section and just copy that over again. So you can see I did the exact same thing here. And then at the end of the song, all I did is just leave all 4 melodic elements playing. And I went ahead and did something I do a lot. I just copy over my open hat and just cut it down so I only get the first one, just so that there's something there when we transition to the end of the song for the outro like this. So there it is. That's a whole beat. I'll be putting out more tutorials. I've been making a lot of this Atlanta stuff recently. Like always, you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. If you want to see anything, hit me up in the comments. If you need some of these drum sounds I used today, go ahead and get my free drum kit. It is on my channel underneath Young Metro Drum Kit, completely free. Check it out. A lot of good sounds in there for these Atlanta kind of beats. And as always, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in. So I'll see you next time. All right.